Following a 27-13 setback to Winona State on October 8th, Upper Iowa returns to the road on Saturday for a Northern Sun Conference South Division game at Concordia-St. Paul. It's a noon kickoff with all the play-by-play action on AM 950 KOEL, starting with pregame coverage at 11:35 a.m. I'm Elwin Huffman. Joining me is the play-by-play voice of Peacock football, Joe Stasi. And Joe, again, thanks for your time today.
As always, we appreciate it. Upper Iowa appreciates it, and it's always fun to talk about Upper Iowa being the only NCAA Division II institution in the state of Iowa, and Upper Iowa always wants to pass along their gratitude toward you.
It was a disappointing day for the Peacocks on October 8th. Warriors spoiled their homecoming and Hall of Fame game with a 14-point win, 27-13. What was the difference in that ball game?
Well, again, Upper Iowa has been able to lace it up with anybody over the past 4 or 5 years. Tom Shea and his coaching staff have done a tremendous job of recruiting kids from Iowa and close to Iowa in a 3 to 4 hour proximity, and just getting the student athlete that they want and developing these kids and with the redshirt program and in the weight room all year long. And Upper Iowa is coming into the 2016 season with 3 consecutive winning seasons in the toughest, one of the toughest, if not the toughest, NCAA Division II football conferences in the United States of America, in the Northern Sun, the NSIC. And this year it's been an anomaly. It's just turnover after turnover after turnover, and it was the same story against Winona State. Winona State came into the football game last week 4-1. They just beat a team that has been number 1 in the country and was in the top 20 when they beat the Minnesota State Mavericks, Winona State on a last-second field goal. So they were coming in riding high against Upper Iowa at homecoming, a huge crowd on hand at homecoming. Last year, Upper Iowa got its first ever win versus Winona State. And so, optimism was very high that we were going to shore up the turnover bug, and we didn't. 3 red zone shots, one we were at the 1 yard line, and a bad snap that caused us, Dimitri Morales had to go back 15 yards to put a fork in it, just fell on the football, and then the next play, he threw an interception. You got 2 other opportunities in the red zone. They all ended in turnovers. We had 4 turnovers on the day, 3 of them interceptions, and, it just... You can't win football games when you keep on turning the football over, especially in crucial situations. 19 turnovers to date in 6 football games. We're dead last in the NSIC in turnover margin. That's the story. You eliminate, if you cut that number in half, Elwin, we've got 3 wins on the table, but as a result, we're 1-5. We ran the ball well. Ryan Parmley out of Delhi, Iowa, he ran the ball very hard, ended up with 73 yards. He had to earn every single one of them. And then Derek Portis ran the ball for 85 yards. Neither of them got into the end zone. The defense kept us in the football game. Our defense is really our bright spot this year. We're very deep on the defensive line. Nate Wilmer, Joe Bush, Zach Rees, JoJo Simpson. We had to play the football game with two true freshmen at linebacker because of Zach Gardner being out and Matt Sharp being out. And they did well. Mitchell Seek out of Denver and Eric Munoz played very well considering in a situation like that. This is NCAA Division II football. It's different than Division III. These kids are bigger, faster, stronger, and they played well. Our special teams played awful. We had a blocked punt that went back for a touchdown, and we continually gave up yardage, and Winona State had a short field to work with a number of times on punts. So, you put all those things together. We were on third down conversions. We were 4 of 7, and red zone scoring opportunities, we were 1 of 3.
Well, the Bears at Concordia-St. Paul are next on the docket for Upper Iowa. Both teams are 0-2 in divisional play, hoping to climb from the bottom of the standings. The Bears are 2-4 overall. For Upper Iowa, this is really a pivotal game. You mentioned 3 straight winning seasons for the Peacocks. Coming into this matchup at 1-5, if they want another winning season to extend that to 4 in a row, they have to win out, and that starts with this game on Saturday.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I want to correct myself. Upper Iowa was 5 for 12 on third down conversions and 1 and 4 in the red zone against Winona State. But, you shake that off because, again, if you can find, and Upper Iowa has a plan. I'm not going to come out and say exactly how they're going to shake up their lineup, but there's going to be some changes this week, and you really have to do that after, you continue to tell the same story, and the same thing is happening, on certain sides of the football. So you got to make a change, and Upper Iowa is going to do that in various ways. But Concordia-St. Paul is a team that, for some reason, no matter if they're up or down, or if we're up or down, we have a hard time with Concordia-St. Paul, especially up in the Twin Cities at St. Paul. They opened up their season against the University of Mary, beat them pretty handily, and then they beat a Crookston team that everybody beats. So they started off 2-4, and then they played the University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs, really, really close, I think losing the 52-49 battle. So that, right out of the gate, everybody's thinking Concordia-St. Paul has the squad they're looking for, and it kind of surprises people because Concordia-St. Paul doesn't have a flashy quarterback. They don't have flashy, experienced wide receivers. They're not big and physical up front on their offensive line. Their strength lies in their defensive side of the football. They're big, they're fast, they're solid, they're deep. But they've lost. They've rattled off 4 losses in a row, and then last couple to Wayne State and Minnesota State by big margins, 45-10 apiece. Offensively, to solve the Concordia-St. Paul's problems, they do a lot of gimmick, halfback passes, end-around reverses. They try to stretch you out because their lack of strength and depth on the offensive line, so they rely on gimmicks. And we just need to stay home defensively, put pressure on the quarterback, and I think we'll be okay from a defensive standpoint. Again, their strength is their defensive line. They have 6 or 7 seniors. Their linebackers flow to the ball. They fight off blockers. Very physical. So, Upper Iowa's had a good talking with Tom Shea earlier in the week. He said, they've had a good week of practice. They had a captain's meeting, kind of let's everybody huddle up and figure out how we're going to finish this season. It's you're 1-5, and to have a winning season, you've got to win out, and that's not very realistic if you keep on playing like you play, especially with the University of Sioux Falls on your docket yet, and Minnesota State, 2 ranked teams.
You mentioned the strength of Concordia-St. Paul's defense. Earlier you said it's also the strength of Upper Iowa, at least right now. This sounds like it's got the makings to be a fairly good game when you also consider the records are similar as well. Yeah,
Upper Iowa has been putting up just about 28 points a ball game, giving up 30. So, and Concordia-St. Paul, it scores less and gives up about. I think Concordia-St. Paul averages about 21 points. So if it's a well-executed game and there are no turnovers, I think you're going to see a lot of clock running. I think you're going to see the ball stay in bounds. I think you're going to have a lot of running plays, and on Upper Iowa side of the ball anyway. Short passes to get the ball out in space to our running backs and wide receivers. We don't want to take many risks downfield just because we're so interception prone. And on the other side, again, if we can just figure out keep everybody home on these gimmick end around plays that Concordia runs every week. And when they execute it, they execute it great. I mean, it's easy to sit here and say, hey, you know what's coming. But when you're a defensive back and you see the flow going all the way to the left, and you see your linebackers up in front of you going all the way to the left, it's really easy to take one step left and then have a wide receiver on your right get deep on you, and then you give up a big play, and boom, there's a quick score. So I think if everybody stays home defensively, we continue to put pressure on the quarterback. His name's Ron Johnson, a real smart kid, fine athlete, just nothing that really sticks out as a superstar or an all-conference player, but he's smart and he knows how to make great reads, and he can break down a defense pretty quick and figure out what your tendencies are, and he's doing that this week on film. So I would imagine they'll probably try and take advantage of our freshman linebackers a little bit, so that'll be an interesting matchup to watch as well. But Upper Iowa plays the game that they play. and they eliminate those turnovers, I like our chances to come home with a win.
With the captain's meeting this week, Joe, it sounds like the players are trying to take some ownership in what's happened to their football team this year. How is the morale of the team?
You know what? That's a great question, and that's why the captains, went in there. You're talking about Reese, Zach Reese, and some of these guys going in there. Zach Gardner, who hopefully might be available this week from his linebacker position. They want to win, and they know that they're so close to winning. They've been part of this football team that for the past 3 years has been on winning programs of 6 and 5. So yes, they are taking ownership. They know that the line is so very thin from winning to losing this year. And it has been. It's just been turnovers, and there's no way. And we're not blaming it on Dimitri Morales. We've coughed up the football a number of times on fumbles. Anytime you're throwing 13 interceptions from the quarterback position, you've got to, look at some things. And the defense is holding up their end of the bargain, and the offense doesn't seem to be doing so much. And it just seems like it's just been that turnover bug, and everybody knows it. So. What these captains talked about with Coach Shea was, what do we got to do? And it just comes down to continuing to work hard in practice, keep a positive mental attitude, and get out there and give it your best. These seniors especially, these guys aren't going to play football again. There are very few of these kids going to play in the NFL. There is a couple of good stories. The Thielen kid for the Minnesota Vikings played at Minnesota State, as you well know. He's now their starting wide receiver. But I don't want to go off on a tangent here. The seniors know that their career's lining up, and they want to end on a winning note. Whether or not that they can rattle off 5 wins in a row is yet to be seen, but I know that they can compete with anybody, so anything's possible.
Chance to get going this Saturday. It's a noon kickoff right here on AM 950 KOEL with pregame coverage at 11:35 a.m. from Seafoam Stadium in St. Paul, Minnesota. Joe Stasi on the call. It's the Peacocks and Concordia-St. Paul. Joe, thanks again for your insight and for your time today.
As always, Elwin, and again, Upper Iowa wants to give you a high five for your professionalism, and they love listening to your program throughout the week. Thank you so much, Elwin. Good luck out there this week, and God bless. We'll talk to you next week.